I'm basically speaking today because this is maybe my first opportunity I've had to speak to you since we had to lay off 26 people from our staff last Friday. 22, which you know were lawyers, and 3 investigators that were working on very high-level investigations, some of them that had international implications, and 1 support staff that did our warrant typing for the weekend, which is a huge loss for us. And then we had to deal with where we were going to have to tell people to go. Obviously, we have to prioritize where we can send our staff. Obviously, we have to cover the cases in circuit court first because we don't want any cases dismissed and having double jeopardy attached where we can't try it again. So this is really my first opportunity. It's important also for me to say at the outset that I've been doing this now for over 25 years. I started off as an assistant prosecutor in this office for almost 12 years. I was on the bench of this court for 9 years, and I've been the elected prosecutor for, this is in my 9th year. This is very important to me. The prosecutor's office is something I take very important. I changed major policies when I got here to reflect the fact that the prosecutor's office is a gatekeeper, one of the most important cogs in the criminal justice system, something that's very, very serious. It's important for me to say this is not some kind of feud, as has been, that makes it sound like so much more minor than it is. This is not a dispute, and this is not some kind of a stunt or ploy. This is what we've had to deal with because of what we've been dealt. This is about a county that needs a fully functioning prosecutor's office that needs to stop the bleeding of not only the crime that's occurring, but valuable people leaving and or getting laid off. We were not fully functional before I lost 1/4 of my staff. 1/4 of my attorney staff is gone. I am down 52 assistant prosecutors. So it's not just the 22 prosecutors out of the 26. It's the over 30 prosecutor vacancies that we've had since October the 1st, when people began getting concerned about being able to pay their bills when they found out what our appropriation was. I am down 52 lawyers. This office didn't start being fiscally responsible recently. We started the day that I walked in January of 2004. We paid off the $1.6 million deficit of my predecessor. We have balanced our budget, and I don't see this being written about. We have balanced our budget for the last 6 years, carrying a surplus for 2 of those years. Unfortunately, when you have a surplus, and it wasn't that large, they don't let us keep it. We have to turn it back over to the county. This was not because we've been given huge budgets for the last 9 years. It's because we scraped and we scrimped, and we found innovative ways so that we could stay within our budget. And I want to just detail a few of those ways for you. When I first came in, we had a forensic audit that we paid for. We found employees working here that worked for other people that didn't work for the prosecutor's office. We canceled unapproved contracts. We restructured financially. We reduced management overall. We cut chiefs, deputy chiefs, and principals. We slashed salaries with the help of county personnel. This is right away, day one. When staff was promoted, they were not given raises right away. Supervisors have caseloads. It's important to note that there are no pure supervisors in this office. Everybody either does appeals, writes appeals, or appears in court. Managers took 10% cuts for 2 years. I have taken a cut. When someone leaves at a higher classification, we backfill at a lower rate. We're very aggressive with grants. We get about $12 to $14 million a year. And the last thing I'm going to mention, even though I have 2 more pages of things we have done in the last 6 years to be able to balance our budget, we created the whole notion of project consultants. And that project consultant, we got the approval of our union. A project consultant is someone who we pay $50,000 a year. It's important to note our beginning APAs make $46,000 a year. That's all they make. $9,000 less than the driver Mr. Fracano wanted. $46,000 a year. Our project consultants receive no benefits. We give them $4,000 for health care costs, and they work with no benefits and on a contract. I'm going to talk more about that a little later. So we've always been very, very proud of the fact that we've been able to be fiscally responsible. In addition to that, let me mention to you very quickly, we've done this despite the county raising the fringe benefit rate often after a budget has been appropriated. In other words, you're given a budget, and then the fringe rate is raised, and it throws off your numbers, and you're still expected to live within your budget. These are costs I have never been able to control. No one can. The CEO controls these costs completely. I want to go through because this is important. For example, when I became the prosecutor in 2004, the fringe rate was 47%. It's now 81%. In 2014, it will be 87%. The budget director has now said that it will go up 18% each successive year, which means in 2015, it will be 105%, in 2016, 123%. So if I employ an assistant prosecuting attorney, if it makes $46,000 a year, it costs over $100,000 to employ them. And since I had no control over these numbers and I wanted to be fiscally responsible, I have demanded answers for how these numbers are calculated. It's like being given an American Express bill for $10,000 and no one gives you an explanation for what these charges are for. That's how it is, operating in this county. So at 9 years I haven't been given answers, and I had to file 2 FOIA requests in the county that I work for, when I'm an independent elected official, to try to get some answers for where these numbers come from. Multi-year budgets in municipal finance, especially in bad economic times, are the preferred practice. When Governor Schneider came in, he wanted and got a 2-year budget. We wanted a 3-year budget. In 2009, we went to Mr. Ficano, and we indicated that we wanted a multi-year budget to be able to be even more responsible because we foresaw trouble on the horizon. For 9 months, we worked almost a full year. We worked with his staff. And in March of 2009, Mr. Ficano and I signed a recommended appropriation for fiscal years 2010, 2011, 2012. We gave up our bargaining position for those 3 years and agreed not to seek any additional expenses or any additional funding outside of this agreement. Mr. Ficano and the Commission honored this MOU, this contract, for 2 years. He blatantly chose not to ignore this MOU this year, and that's what this is all about. The Wayne County, it's not that I expect $34.3 million for my budget, and we planned for, we appropriated, we forecasted for 3 years to be responsible. When we applied for grants, we knew that that would be our appropriation, and this is what we relied on for 3 years. So the appropriation that we received after he refused to honor the agreement was $9 million less than what was agreed on. On top of that, we were given another $3 million worth of expenses and increases in fringes and benefits. So really a shortfall of $12 million. Now my budget is almost all personnel. Salary, fringes, benefits, 87%. There's nothing to cut except for people. But it's also interesting to note that the amount in dispute, this $9 million, is 1/2 of 1% of the county budget. And also less than 2% of the general fund budget. My entire budget for the last fiscal year is only 5% of the county budget. It's not going to break the county, and we cause none of the problems. Much has been said about the prosecutor should just live within our budget. It's impossible. The CEO knew up front what the allotted budget would mean and did not care. I also want to point out one more thing before I go on. And it's important to point out this history to get to the point that I want to make today. Much has also been said that everyone in the county took a across-the-board cut of 20%. That is not true. It's a lie. It's something that they have told the newspapers. The court and the sheriffs are covered by a judgment, a court order, because of the lawsuit. All the county departments say they took a 20% cut on paper, but in reality, each county department, for example, personnel or IT, increased their chargebacks to everyone else by 20%. So they are all operating and have been operating on the same budget they had the previous year. They just increased their costs to everybody else that we have to then pay. Lastly, the $25.3 million budget that was appropriated to this office is less than what John O'Hare had in the year 2000. His fringe rate at that time was 30%. Mine is 81%. I've asked this county, both the executive's office and the commission, many times for a prosecution expert to come in and evaluate our office for efficiency, like they have in many other counties across the state. They have refused every time because they know what they would find, that we need more, much more, and not less to be compliant. Public safety is so important to the basic functioning of our society that the legislature created statutes, laws, and even provisions in the Michigan Constitution mandating the functions for prosecutors' offices. We are statutorily mandated. Every function we are performing is mandated. The county must fund its mandated functions first. not economic development, public safety. The first function of government is to keep its people safe. A portion of our grant work that we have that I talked about under the Child Care Fund is currently at risk. These programs run by our office saved the county over the past few years $70 million. This didn't benefit us, but it benefited the county, but we're happy to do any program that would save the county money. These are programs that we developed and that have won national awards. We have managed our budget. We have been among the most fiscally responsible in the county, and the CEO has mismanaged, misspent, given lucrative contracts, had many indicted forced practices, but we are trying to, they're bearing the brunt on us. When the CEO's office was offering these lucrative severances, I said no. You are forbidden from offering this to anyone in my office. I got sued as a result. They dropped the suit. Why would I pay anyone 6 months for not working when they already had a nice retirement package? Now, to get what you may be most interested in, although I hope that you understand the history and where we are and why we had to sue. What is now happening on a day-to-day basis, and it can change from day to day based on the personnel that we have. We simply cannot cover the traffic docket. We cannot cover the PPO docket in circuit court. This was the first day-to-day that we haven't covered that. I let Judge McCarthy know that yesterday. We cannot cover the misdemeanors dockets in 36th District Court. Covering the misdemeanor domestic violence docket is a day-to-day call. These are cases that can be very dangerous, so we're trying our best to get someone over there every day. We cannot cover completely some of the out-county district courts. We've let those courts know. As of today, we let the court and the judges know that we can no longer cover diversion programs, which save money, save jail space, and move cases through the system quicker. We have backups in homicide, child abuse, and elder abuse. We have 40 warrants that were backed up in homicide. We have 130 warrants that were backed up in child abuse. So every day is a day of a game of triage, where we're trying to figure out which ones seem to be the most dangerous of people and try to get them issued first. But we're fearful every day that someone in that list, because we can't get to it, my child abuse unit has gone from 8 lawyers to 2.5. We're fearful every day that one of those people that's named in a warrant by the police may do something to harm another child. We're backed up 66 sexual assault warrants. And I'm not even talking about the old rape kit ones. We're backed up on those too. Our not in custody general warrants are now backed up almost 3 weeks. We do not have prosecutors in all our circuit court courtrooms. And pretty soon we're going to be forced with having to choose which cases we can prosecute at all. And I'm talking about felony cases now. It is totally disingenuous and disgusting that anyone would suggest that this is a stunt. That is pathetic. This isn't funny. It's not cute. It's not stressful. It is stressful, and it's very real. No one that is making these comments, not one person that has made comments like this in the press, has ever been over to these offices, despite being invited many, many times. I've invited the commissioners, the CEO, officers and the CEOs about, come over here and see what we do. We'll walk you through, and you can see how the resources are being spent. They declined.